Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday as you all are coming in. Happy Wednesday, halfway through the week. Yay. All right. We're just going to get folks just another minute or two to come in. And I hope y'all are feeling awesome and are feeling excited for today. We have a lot of great information in store for you all to feel prepared and set up for success. And so in the meantime, I'm just going to triple check participants. Very cool. I see some folks might need a second or two to connect to audio, so no worries whatsoever. I know sometimes Zoom takes a second. But in the meantime, as folks are coming on, just a friendly reminder, you are more than welcome to ask any and all questions, right? This is meant to be helpful for you to make sure you feel set up for success. And then we will be getting started shortly. I'm just going to double check that my counterpart is still good to go. But in the interim, as folks are getting logged in, I hope you all are feeling excited for spring and enjoying the warmer weather. Does anyone want to share some super great things they did for Founders Day before we kick off to give folks a minute or two? Not all at once.
We went to an art museum and had lunch, which was very fun.
That's awesome. I love that. What art museum did you go to?
The Chrysler Museum in Norfolk, and they have a special exhibit that was from Paul McCartney, the Beatle, and he had taken photos of the band when they first came to the United States. So it was pretty cool because it was from the early 60s.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Very creative way to celebrate too. Oops, sorry about that. Any other folks want to share what they did for Founders Day? I know for Tulsa, we rented out a really great room at the Mayo Hotel, which is like a historical hotel in downtown Tulsa, and got to celebrate our sisters that achieved the landmark of 25 years and 50 years, which is remarkable. And of course, ate delicious food, which what could be better when celebrating sisterhood. So, well, great. If there are no, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what year was the hotel built? Like from the 1800s or something?
That's a great question. I would need to Google that. I do not know the top of my head. I want to say like the early 1900s or something like that. I don't think it was the 1800s.
Okay.
But it was used as a really big kind of like dance hall area when Tulsa was up and coming, but I do not know the year. So I should have asked that. It's probably that's important. So do not know that sample fact. Well, just to be respectful of everyone's time, I will go ahead and jump in. And as we navigate, if my counterpart is able to hop on, great. And if not, all good in the neighborhood, we will run this together. So again, happy Wednesday. This webinar is all about our amazing AHQ and being in good standing with finesse. So as we strive to be fantastic, that was my approach. I'm trying to be witty. It's probably my inner teacher getting the best of me. So we will just rock and roll with it. But as I'm navigating things, if I do not see a question in the chat, or if anything pops up as I'm shifting, please feel free to pause me. It's not intentional. I want to make sure that you have your questions answered and you feel ready to go. Okay. So
I am sending Gretchen the link, just FYI.
Oh, perfect. Then what I'll do is I'll hang tight for just a second then. And we'll just at least go over the agenda. Thank you for that.
Okay.
I appreciate it, Tony. So yay, great. So here are a couple of things that we'll be reviewing today. And then my awesome counterpart, Gretchen, will be hopping on, and she has a wealth of knowledge that I know you all will greatly benefit from. But a couple of things that we'll go over today, of course, introduction, so you all know who in the world is leading this and you feel ready to go too. Identifying what is good standing, what is required. I know quite a few of us may have that, but it's always nice to run through as we're wrapping up that next step and making sure that we're leading with integrity within our sisterhood. How do we access the AHQ? What does that look like, sound like? What are some things to keep in mind? Convention award preparation, and then final questions. The final slide as we wrap up questions will be some save the date information that is way in advance, but it's always nice to know these in advance so we can plan excellent programming for awesome sisters. And I do want to preface for HQ questions, was able to utilize a great resource that one of our sisters online here actually sent out to her chapters. And so got to take a page out of her book to set you all up for success as well. So I will introduce myself really quickly, and when Gretchen comes on, I'll allow her to introduce herself too. But my name is Milena Hasmanis. I am a member of the Rho Eta chapter, which is in the Mitten. It's part of Grand Valley State University. And so very, very proud of that sisterhood. I serve as the National Alumni Chapter Specialist for the Delta area. So absolutely love that. It's been a great privilege, and see some of y'all on too. And then again, as she comes on, I'll go ahead and give her a second to introduce herself as well. So if folks want to even put in the chat what chapter you're from, if you serve within your respective role that you would like to highlight, or if you want to unmute too, I know sometimes it's nice to not do it, but it's nice for you all to know who's in this chat too.
And I have texted and emailed her, so hopefully she's joining soon.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Did you want us to introduce ourselves? I'm Joanne Carlisle. I'm from the Chicago West Suburban Alumni Chapter and currently serving as secretary. And I'm the longest standing alum member in the Chicago West Suburban Chapter.
That's an awesome sample fact. I love that. Thank you for introducing yourself. And it's either or. So if folks want to put it in the chat or folks want to unmute, either one is totally fine. So thank you, Joanne, for unmuting to introduce yourself. Welcome, Jackie. Welcome, Donna and Carolyn. Any other folks want, you can either unmute or put it in the chat, just who you are, what chapter you're coming from. If you have a really cool Snapple fact like that, just like Joanne, what an awesome accomplishment. So.
Hi, I'm Harpreet. I'm from the Fresno Alumni Chapter. I'm the new Fresno Alumni President, so I'm new to this whole process.
Well, wonderful. Congratulations and welcome. Hi, Maureen. And then Tony, is that also you? The Tony, second Tony that just hopped on? Oh, it's Gretchen. Gretchen.
Does it say Tony? I'm getting all these questions about how to log in.
No, so. She's on, just had your name. So it's just a plot twist. I was just confused for a second. Okay. So sorry about that.
I couldn't get in. This is the second month in a row. And now it's not, I'm showing up on one screen, but not another. So I guess you can see me.
No, it's okay. Technology keeps us on our toes. All is good.
Yeah. Okay.
Here, I'll go to like Gretchen.
I'm going to stop my video because I have to look at my other screen and I'll be looking away from you guys. So, okay. Oh, sorry.
I'm glad that you're here. All is good. All is good. You're here. That's all matters.
Go ahead.
Hey, I wanted to share with you guys that this year is the first time I spent Founders Day at Kent State University in their house. We celebrated their 10th anniversary and we had our ceremony and luncheon in the house with the collegians and for the NCO chapter. And that was really exciting and fun to do that this year. So I highly recommend that you find a collegiate chapter and have your Founders Day with them.
I love that. And yes, that is a great recommendation. Thank you for bringing that up, Lisa. That's an awesome way to celebrate Founders Day. And what a cool way to celebrate this past year. And then welcome to folks that have introduced themselves. Thank you for being here. Gretchen, do you feel comfortable unmuting to introduce yourself too?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm Gretchen Johnson. I am from Eta Beta chapter at the University of Washington. I'm one of the Alpha Area Alumni Chapter Specialists, and I'm also the president of the Greater Seattle Alumni Chapter.
That's awesome. Welcome. And she is our better half of this presentation. So I'm glad that she's on to help support. And thank you all again for introducing yourselves. And if you came in a couple minutes late, no worries whatsoever. You can feel free to put your name and what chapter you're from as we kick off today. Gretchen, I did share the agenda, so we should be good
Okay.
to move forward if that's okay
Perfect.
with you too.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have control of the slides?
Yes, I do.
All righty. So what does it mean to be in good standing? We talk about that all year long. Slide, okay. To be in good standing, a chapter must do 3 things each year. You must complete your alumni headquarters questionnaire, the AHQ, each year in the spring, and we'll be going into that in detail. You need to update dues paying members as active throughout the year. And this is a little different than it was in Patriot, where you mark the year. So you need to be really careful of how you do that. And you need to update your chapter officers on an annual basis as soon as elections occur. And I know a lot of chapters had elections during their Founders Day, so there should be a lot of changes being made. The president is the only officer that can update chapter officers. And when you are working through an officer transition in MyFIMU, you always need to update all of the other officers besides the president first. And then if you are changing office, if you've got a new president, then that would be the last change you made, because once you make that change, you won't have access to make any other changes. If you don't have any changes in your officers, you need to let your chapter specialists know so that we can note that down so that you will be in good standing. Okay, the Alumni Chapter Questionnaire. How do you find it? And when is it due? It is due in order to be in good standing for convention. It is due by June 1st. And when you're in the system, I believe it says May 15th. And that would be a great date to shoot for. But the absolute last day is June 1st. Okay, how do you access, hold on, I need to, I'm having a mouse issue now. Oh man, this is crazy. Oh well. Okay, how do you access the AHQ in MyFIMU? First off, you need to log into your MyFIMU account. And if you haven't gone in and claimed your account, you need to do that first. And then you're going to select your chapter. And Melina is doing a great job of showing us where she's at. And then when you do that, you click on chapter officer forms. And then my forms and approval. And if you will notice, when you look down below, the form is listed there, but see how it's in black print? When you click on my forms and approvals, then it turns blue. So it becomes a link to the actual form. So from here, when you click on the link to the form, that'll take you to the actual form. And one thing that we're going to emphasize today is that you have to complete the form in one sitting. You can't do part of it and then save it and go back later. It has to be done all at once. So we've got some tools to help you do that. So this is what the form looks like. And there's fill in the blanks and there's drop downs on the form. So again, you need to fill it out in one sitting. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Gretchen. And again, these are some helpful slides to reference when these are available to you all, just so you have some of those little tips and tricks that Gretchen did emphasize, such as clicking on the My Form, so that that helps eliminate any frustration. So some AHQ questions. So Maureen, who is on, put together a really phenomenal document for her chapters. And so why recreate the wheel? We have something so phenomenal. So I wanted to first give her a shout out, because that's where we pulled this from, and thought it was such a great tool that we want to utilize it for this training today because of how she organized it. So thank you, Maureen, for taking the time, and I hope this is helpful for you all too, as we found it helpful in building this presentation out. So we'll kind of chunk up the questions. As Gretchen shared, it has to be done in one sitting. However, when you have some of these questions in front of you, it allows for you to begin to think, what information do I have already? And what information do I need to be intentional of gathering in the meantime? And so with these questions, it's always helpful if you have a Word document for you to begin gathering that. So when you do complete it in one sitting, you're set up for success too. So with the general questions, these are pretty straightforward, as we saw in that screenshot. So what is the last year a member of your alumni chapter attended convention? Does your chapter have any members that are area or national officers or chapter advisors? There is a drop down for this. And so please know, if there is a drop down section for a question, there may be a follow-up question included in this. And so to the best of our ability, we included that here too for you to begin to think about. So in this case, there is a drop down. So any questions that are dropped down, it's highlighted in pink. Just for you to think of that too, in case there is a follow-up question. So if yes, what position do they hold? Very straightforward as you're gathering that too. Did your chapter hold elections this year? Again, this is a drop down. And if the answer is yes, you'll want to include the date of elections. As Gretchen shared too, quite a few chapters went through elections during Founders Day. And so that may be something you already have plugged in. Maybe you have a different date. And so that is something we want to emphasize. How many events did your chapter host this year? So that's something you can pull from the line of communications you use with your chapter, whether it be a calendar, if you're expressing that via your Facebook group, etc., as you're gathering that. Did your chapter participate in Find Unite Out? Again, that is a drop down. And then finally, approximately how many members attended your events? This is an average. This is a guesstimate. So to the best of your knowledge, what is the average attendance per or cumulatively with those events? So any questions about the general section first, or, as some of y'all have filled out the HQ, if you even have tips or things too along the way, you're more than welcome to share that. We encourage that as well. Let me just check the chat super quick. Awesome. So, okay. So Carolyn, that may be something you'll need to connect with the president so you can review that with her, and then help support moving forward. And if not, definitely reach out to your chapter specialist if you both are having some troubles with that.
I don't normally have troubles with it.
Okay.
I provide her the information, and I'd like at least a list of the questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can go back and look in my files for a 3 or 4 or 5 year old report, but is it the same report?
Is this the same series of questions that we've used 3 to 5 years ago? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, if you can at least give me a list of the questions, or allow me to access a blank form so that I can look at it, Marty will go ahead and input it, but I'd like to give her the right information.
Of course. No, absolutely. And I appreciate you wanting to make sure it's accurate. And these are the questions that we're going over right now. So this is something that we're putting together. And I'm happy if you want to put your email in, I can even share you the document that has it as a 2-pager outlining it as well. So you can have another document to help organize that. That's helpful.
And also the link to the document should have been in the last Alumnae chapter newsletter.
Thank you.
But when it tells me I don't have permission to access the document, how do I get to it, even with the link?
No, the link is for this list of questions. This is the cheat sheet.
Okay, thank you.
This is the cheat sheet so that you know what the questions are, so you can prepare, so you have everything when you go in to enter the information.
Got you. Thank you.
But Carolyn, if you want to put your email there is or there are these sets of questions in a Word document instead of it being in a PowerPoint presentation like it is now. And I'm happy to email it to you afterwards if that's helpful too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for bringing that up so we can make sure you're set up for success. So awesome. Any other questions or things before we shift to the next slide? Okay, I will take that as a no. So next one, right? Ritual. So a couple of questions, again, friendly note. For questions that have a drop down, please, please, please be mindful of follow-up questions. So did you have a Founders Day event? If yes, briefly describe your Founders Day event. This is a great time to be specific. What did you all do to celebrate Founders Day? So when Lisa was mentioning going to the Collegiate House to celebrate with those members, amazing. When Tony had mentioned going to the Art Museum and celebrating there, you want to build out those details, but in a concise way, but again, making it clear how you celebrated it. Does your chapter participate in any CMN, hospital fundraisers or Find Me Foundation fundraisers? So drop down if the answer is yes, please give a brief summary of what events your chapter participated in. Does your chapter hold formal business meetings? Again, that's a drop down. And then does your chapter have any ritual or have all ritual supplies needed? Again, a drop down. And so with that, oh, thank you, Tony. So with that, only 200, is it 255 or 250? Oh, it is 55. Oh, okay, sorry. I usually have seen 250, so I wasn't sure. I was like, wow, that's very specific, 255. But thank you, Tony, for bringing that up. So concise in that sense of fitting it in, but still being clear in what events you did do. So thank you for mentioning that, Tony, as well. That is very helpful. And then next, finance. So with that, does your chapter have a bank account? If yes, what bank are you using? Do you collect member dues? If yes, how much are dues yearly? So as you're building out, there may be some that you can already add into that document so you're set up, right? So these are things that we have outlined that are a lot faster to name in this form. Do you require members to pay Forever Faithful dues? There's a drop down there. And then how do you educate your chapter on Forever Faithful dues? For this one, there's a very helpful hint. Hold down Control Command button to select multiple options if your chapter has multiple options and how they have educated your chapter on Forever Faithful dues. So again, that's just a helpful hint. So if you get to that point and it's frustrating, that's a great way to make sure you're selecting all of the ways in which your chapter does this. Any questions about this so far? And check the chat. That is another great tip. I love it. I love all these life hacks that we're sharing today. Yes, that's a great one, Maureen. So another great way to save time is you're absolutely right. In that document, in the Word document, you can copy and paste those answers that you're building along the way, right? As you already have some, as you're collecting them, as you round out the year, to copy and paste directly into the AHQ and working smarter, not harder. So great tip, Maureen. Thank you for that. Another AHQ question is in relation to zip range or zip code range. So what is the primary zip code for your respective chapter? And what is the mile radius that should be used for your chapter? So when creating this, do any folks have any tips or things that have been helpful as you're getting this set? Or do y'all feel all good with the zip range too? I know sometimes there can be helpful tools or sometimes folks already know, but I also know some alum chapters are relatively large. And so just wanted to leave that open in case folks did have any tips or questions or suggestions. My teacher wait time is telling me no, all is good. So again, if you're having any questions or issues with zip range, please feel free to reach out to your chapter specialist. Okay, so next section is regards to communication. So what's the preferred method of communication? So again, you want to hold down Control Command to select multiple options. Do you regularly send out, or do you regularly send in the Agalia report? Do you use any type of bulk email system? Do you send or email alumni chapter newsletters? Do you currently have a heart-to-heart chapter that you support? Do you receive and read correspondence from your area specialist? Again, these are a lot of questions that your chapter is more than likely able to answer at this time. So a couple of sections that you can check off and get even closer to finishing this before the deadline. So all great things. Oh, that's awesome, Tony. For the zip range, Tony had mentioned that they use MapQuest and calculate the distance between the two furthest sister houses. That's an awesome trick. So thank you for bringing that up. And hopefully that's helpful for folks too. Membership. So do you utilize MyFindYou for the most up-to-date, real-time member contact information? How many active dues paying members does your chapter have this fiscal year? Does this membership total currently agree with members reported in MyFindYou? Great way, especially for our sisters who have not claimed their account. This is a great way to really push that and help close that gap so everyone has access to this platform. Has your chapter president updated or edited all chapter officers in MyFindYou this fiscal year? And again, friendly reminder, if you are not having any changes in your officers, to please let your chapter specialist know so we can check that off and make sure you're in good standing. Does your chapter have a tiered due structure? Would you be interested in having more alumni chapter trainings in the future? Did you attend any of the live training webinars this year or view recordings? Well, plot twist, if you're here today, you can check that off. What great news, right? You've already attended at least one. And if you haven't, you can encourage sisters to also watch recordings as you're thinking of other ways to engage them in this. So what a great thing to check off the list. On a scale of 1 to 5, how helpful were the webinars? Would your alumni chapter like a FindYou volunteer or staff members to attend a future virtual event hosted by your chapter? And how can the headquarters or volunteers best support your chapter? And for the last question, right, this is something that is extremely helpful as the team is identifying ways to best support your respective chapters so we can continue to have the strongest sisterhood possible and also make sure that you are feeling supported in that too. Any questions or thoughts on the membership piece before we go to the next slide? All right. Okay, and then of course, just a friendly reminder, click on the link provided in the March newsletter to find the AHQ questions, or you may put your email and I can send you that Word document as well, if that's helpful. Again, shout out to Maureen for putting that together. That was awesome. Okay. And the favorite part, convention awards. So these are referencing some of the past awards that have been done. Before we kind of unpack this, I strongly encourage, if you have tips, if you have ideas that your chapter has done to prepare for convention awards, that's a great way for us to share that knowledge and to swap it so that you feel even more prepared as we enter into a convention year, which is so exciting. So when thinking of convention awards, we're really celebrating alumni excellence. So below are the awards that were presented during the last convention, right? And so we'll spend some time unpacking these a little bit further for some. So how can your chapter best prepare? Begin gathering respective documentation on ones that you feel best align. Organize pictures and correspondence, right? You're capturing a lot of information over a time span, and your chapters are incredibly active and have dedicated a lot of time to pour into your chapter. So take the time to organize that information so you're truly allowing your chapter to shine in all the hard work that you all put into this. Begin. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can I just chime in here?
Yes, please.
And remember that when you're preparing for convention awards, you're looking at both years of the biennium. So not only this year, which you've been gathering information for the AHQ, but also last year.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's why we're taking the time to organize that information is even more important for this, because you're absolutely right, Gretchen, excuse me. It's over the span of 2 years. That's a lot of information. And this is your time to really brag on your chapter and to let that light be shine down on all the great things that y'all have done. So please take that time. I know it can be daunting at first, but so worth it to brag on your chapter and all the awesome work that y'all have done. You also want to apply for awards, right? You can't win if you don't apply. The worst thing that can happen is that you get told you didn't qualify. You can get an honorable mention, and I wouldn't doubt that you could have a very high chance of winning because of all the great things happening. So please, please, please apply for those awards. So again, you're giving your chapter a chance to shine. So with that, any questions, or even when it comes to some of these more specific awards, does anyone have, hey, for this award, this is what our chapter did that was very helpful, or maybe some things that can be helpful on preparing for outstanding alumni chapter newsletter, or things you want to highlight for social media? This is a really great way to share that information with each other.
I have something that came up when I was, those of us in the alumni department, we go through all the submittals and and rank them for awards. And one chapter, this was a couple of conventions ago, and I used it last time for my own chapter, for the newsletter and for social media, public relations, all of that kind of thing, is to do like a Word document with links to all of your newsletters and or other types of media and things that you had out there, so that when we're reviewing, instead of attaching hundreds of pages of examples, we can click on the link for a lot of your newsletters and that sort of thing, and be able to see what you've accomplished. And it makes it really easy. So I know a lot of chapters use things like MailChimp or some of the other platforms in order to do their newsletters, and it makes it really easy for us.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation, great way to add that. And I do want to stress too that the award documents for the award application has not opened yet, but keep your eyes open because it will be opening soon. So I did want to emphasize that as well. Sorry, let me look. Oh, sorry, I opened up the chat too late, so my apologies. Thank you, Maureen, for adding that. And so when it says the description for each award and all the things, yes. And the deadline for that should be listed within that form as well. So great. And then once that form is live, please note that your chapter specialist will make you aware as soon as possible, because we want to see you all shine in this space, and we want to encourage you all to apply as much as possible. So great tip, Gretchen, on that one. Anyone else have any tips in terms of preparing for these awards? Again, I know the 2024 awards are not live yet, but these are good ones to, again, begin having your wheels turn and how you can get your information organized over the past 2 years to submit to.
I have one other thing too.
Yeah.
Lena had mentioned that if you don't apply for awards, you can't win. And if you're a small chapter, you may think that, you're not going to win because the big chapters do so much more. And that's not necessarily the case. So we want everyone to apply for the awards, and you may be applying for one award, you may be applying for multiple awards, but do apply, because we want to hear from you. And it doesn't matter if you've got 6 people in your chapter or you've got 100 people in your chapter.
Exactly. That in itself should be
doing great. Everyone's doing great things.
Yeah, absolutely, Gretchen. And I would argue that should be a slide in its own, right? So no matter the chapter size, all of it is fantastic. All of it is beautiful as it contributes to our sisterhood. So please don't let that be a barrier. Thank you for mentioning that, Gretchen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, great. Any other questions or tips as it comes to these awards that folks want to share at this time? I'll check the chat this time too to make sure I'm not missing anything as well. Okay. So if there are no questions about the respective awards, are there any overarching questions as it relates to the AHQ and being fantastic, right? And rocking it with finesse while you're being in good standing, right? So not only getting your AHQ, making sure all the other components are done too. Any questions or things that were unclear, or things that we can help at this time with? How do I get into contact with our chapter specialist? So great question. So since I know you had mentioned you're the newest president elected, I believe, you'll want to ensure that that's up to date on MyFindU. And then depending on where you're located, if you want to share where that may be, that can also be helpful so we can ensure that your chapter specialist knows that. But the next newsletter will be live, so you should be receiving that information from your respective chapter specialist when that goes out. So we work hard to make sure that's sent on the 1st of every month too.
Yeah. I think I got the newsletter from my past president because she's still on our executive board,
Okay.
but she wasn't able to update our new officers. So I've just got to figure out how to do that.
Okay. Yeah. If you are able to see on that newsletter, it'll say who your chapter specialist
Okay.
is at the bottom. And then if you're having issues figuring out, because typically a lot of us will have like our name, and the email will be in that forwarded message, but also in the signature at the opening message, it'll have like our name. And a lot of times we put our email addresses there, but if there is anything that's unclear, I can put my email in here too in case that's
Yeah, you can also, if you're on MyFindU and you there's a I forget what the what it's called. I think it's your volunteers or something like that.
Yes.
And it lists your chapter specialist and everybody there with their contact information.
Perfect. I'll explore a little bit more.
Yeah. And because I know sometimes that can be confusing, or if you do get lost or need any support, I put my email in there too, and I'm always happy to help if that's ever helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Maureen had mentioned 2022 award applications were due by the 30th of April. So again, once those award applications are sent and we see that deadline, we will stress that so you all are aware and can feel prepared to begin gathering that helpful information.
And I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Harpreet? Yeah, your chapter specialist is Shelley All.
Okay.
Mystery solved. Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Those are all great questions. Okay. Then I'll go ahead, Gretchen, if you feel okay to kick off the save the date information. Is that okay?
Okay, that's great.
All right.
Okay, so we've got a few things coming up. First off, our first FindU Night Out that is coming up is April 11th. So hopefully everybody's got one or more events scheduled for that time. And that is a time when FindUs across the country get together to celebrate our sisterhood, whether it's together, as a chapter doing something, or you just give your best FindU sisters a call and chat on the phone. Anything is possible. And then we've been collecting event details for FindU Night Out so that people know where they're going to be. So if you've got people in your area that you have not been in contact with, hopefully you'll get some sisters that will reach out and want to meet with you. And then FindU Foundation Day of Giving and FindU Night Out. These were both on the same night this past October. And Tony, were they going to be on the same night this year? Melina, I know you did this slide, so I'm assuming that.
Oh, I didn't do this slide. I didn't do the slide.
Oh, you didn't do it?
Mm-mm.
And I don't know, October 19th is a Saturday. Is that the correct?
Yeah, I don't know who did the slide then.
Sorry, I thought you had, so that's why I defaulted it to you. So, okay.
Yeah, so October 19th was our day this past year.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So the October 19th, forget October 19th, but so we will also have FindU Night Out in the fall. So we've got 2 of those coming up. Mm-hmm. And also in the fall, we've got FindU Foundation Day of Giving. And that is always a great day to plan for a fundraising opportunity for the foundation for your chapter. One of the things that you need to remember is that alumni chapters are encouraged to support Pioneer Foundation as well as CMN. So now is a good time to get something on your calendar, even though we don't have a specific date yet, is to plan some type of fundraising opportunity for your chapter for Day of Giving. And we've got convention coming up in July at Disney's Yacht and Beach Resorts in Orlando. So that will be really fun. And registration is open for convention now. So if you're going to be your chapter delegate, you should have received an email with the information on it. And please get registered as soon as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordy took a lot of time to unpack step by step. And so take a time to review those steps provided. And then, of course, reach out if you have questions. And we really look forward to seeing you all at convention. But friendly reminder again, award applications are not live yet, but will be super soon, which will include that deadline and the expectations for the awards as you are gathering that information of the great things happening the past 2 years to let your chapter shine, no matter the size. And then again, make sure that you're checking out the HQ. I looked at those email addresses and we'll make sure to send it to folks with that Word document. But use that tip and that trick provided of putting it into a Word document, gathering that information and copy and paste it over when you have it all together so you're working smarter, not harder. And then remember to rock out those 3 requirements to be in good standing as you all are finishing out the year all in this place. And if your chapter officers have not changed, please, please, please let your chapter specialists know. So I want to make sure we have all of those items locked in our brain as we are finishing out this webinar at this time. So any other final questions, comments, or concerns at this time as I go to that slide? Okay, thank you, Megan. Yes, I have that noted too, so thank you. All right. Any final comment to you, Gretchen?
Nope. I just want to apologize again for having so many issues and being late.
No, all is good. It looks like a couple of folks had issues with Zoom, so I'll let Jordy know that maybe it's just a funky thing happening with Zoom too. So who knows? Technology is a wild thing. So thank you all for hopping on, and we're glad that we got to see you and set you up for success as you finish your HQ and apply for convention awards soon.